There's a sequence, there's a code, there's a combination. And when you get the right combination, it unlocks everything for us. What's up, brother?
What's up? How are you?
Doing good, man. Appreciate you jumping in here. Got a little
Absolutely.
Excel life going on over here.
Good stuff.
Good stuff, man. Well, really appreciate you jumping in and hanging out with us a little bit this morning. And wanted to get you on, chop it up. You're a fascinating human being, and I've always wanted to be able to just you and I chop it up. I know business partners with Matt, and you Matt and myself have had plenty of conversations, and wanted to chop it up and spend a little time with you. Good
deal. Sounds good. Happy to.
Man, for everybody kind of tuning in, give them a lowdown. Let's let them peek behind the curtain of Mr. DJ.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride. So met current business partner Matt, met him in college playing football up at Gannon University, and a finance major. He was in accounting. Thought I want to be a financial advisor. Always interested in kind of the finance, real estate end of things. And we had a mortgage company for quite some time. So out of college, talked him into moving down to good old Fort Lauderdale, Florida, get out of the snow in the Northeast, and had a good run. And then 2008 was a humbling experience, to say the least. And I kind of loosely stayed in. He kind of stayed in full time on real estate, and then had a couple consulting jobs here and there. Burned out bad. Decided to take a pause, a reset, I call it, in life for about a year, a little over a year, and traveled.
What'd you do during that time?
Traveled the entire world. So I lived in Costa Rica, Thailand. I was in Ireland for St. Patty's Day. I was in Iceland, and mountain bike, hiked on the West Coast. It was actually truly amazing. I always say, like, other than being a dad, having my little boy, it's the second best thing I ever did. Everyone thought I was completely crazy for doing it.
What was for you? What was the experience? Like, how did it? I'm sure it had to change you.
Oh my God! I'll tell you, the first 2 weeks, it was really surreal. Being my whole life being in sales, being on the phone every second, calls, to not have a phone, it didn't even make sense. So it didn't really click or set in for 2 weeks. But the experience as a whole, you and I have talked a lot about this. It was like spiritual, mental, physical, all of it. It's just I lost like 40 pounds. I got in great shape. I was reading a ton. I met some amazing people, had some just unbelievable experience. Relationships I still have to this day. Like, I still keep in touch with a lot of people I met on the trip, in social media and stuff. But yeah.
What was a day like during that time frame? Like, what was typical day?
It's funny you say that. I look back and think like Costa Rica. When I was there, typically I was getting up early because I really kind of stopped drinking, even caffeine. Like, I wasn't doing anything. Even get up 5:36. I'd usually hit the beach on a long run, 4 or 5 miles, and then after that, go poolside, have a little brunch, and then I'd usually do some reading for about an hour or two. Hit the gym again. Then it was kind of just, then I was trying to do as much, adventure as I could. So like waterfall hikes, waterfall jumps, zip lining, you name it, like every day. And I got to know a lot of the locals. So they were taking me to things that just didn't exist. I spent 3 days in a rainforest with a husband and wife. He had a machete, and I was a little bit, and there's that level of trust. But I was like, well, we slept basically on the ground, and breakfast was a pineapple, and we drank water right from right from coming off the mountain, and it was just unbelievable. It was a very different way of living. So, after kind of went through that, Matt was kind of chatting with me still on like WhatsApp and different things, and he had already moved back to Pittsburgh about a year, and he was saying, "Hey, what do you think about getting back here and us kind of getting the band back together and, starting a real estate team, I was so relaxed at the time. I was like, yeah, you could have talked me into anything at the moment, and I was getting excited and ready to kind of get back to work. Cause after being out for that long, the motivation was high. So moved back, just about 4 years ago.
So Deej, before, we jump out of that, like what transformation during that time period that, like, did it change you? Like you said, you lost 40 pounds, but I'm sure the transformation was more internal than external. And so, like, for you, did it unlock anything? Did it change perspective? Like, what was it for you that, because most people, they just know their circumstance and their environment around them. And as we know, there's, a code and a sequence to unlocking anything in our lives.
Right.
And it all starts with circumstance and environment that drives our thinking, which then become our beliefs. And then from there, goes into how we feel, the actions we take, and the results we get. But for you, that had to transform and unlock something inside of you as a human being to experience that. Was there anything that like really stood out, that being unplugged from our world as we know it, to then experience and see things, probably, this almost probably feels like the Matrix.
Right. Yeah. A deeper sense of gratitude just for life in general. Also seeing other cultures and how they live. And, there's a lot of things we take for granted. A lot of things I took for granted. Right. So a simpler style of living, how I felt, like you said, not just physically, but the mental aspects were life-changing, because before that, most of my life was, if I'm being honest, typical sales, right? It's work super long hours, have some drinks to calm down. And you kind of get it. For me, it was like being on a treadmill. And then it was a treadmill that I felt like was on level 10, where I could keep the pace, but I just couldn't get off. Right. So this allowed me to kind of take a step back and realize, like we've talked before, like being consistent. And I took, being an athlete, I always thought, I'm always going to be healthy. I kind of took that as, I work out to stay in shape, but that changed the mental part of just how I was able to look at life different. So from a business aspect now, I realize the importance of it, and just having all those things. You need all of them to be in order, right? Because if one's off, it'll throw the others off too. Mentally, spiritually, physically. I really believe that they all got to be in line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was one particular thing I'll mention that kind of I'll never forget. I met a gentleman in his probably mid 40s, very wealthy hedge fund guy, was there at the end of my like 64th day in Costa Rica with his father, who was in his 70s. He had stage 4 cancer. And rather than being in the hospital and kind of going through that, he decided to travel with his father. And I had dinner with them one night, and, kind of some cocktails the second day, and just hearing their story and seeing what that meant to them. It really, that really, man, it hit me hard. It just said, like, life is short. You just never know. Right. So you got to take advantage of every day, and we all have ups and downs, but you got to stay positive. You got to stay grateful, and you got to stay on your path. So that was one in particular. I just remember, like, the father was so happy. It was kind of like he knew he may have limited time, but being with his son on those final days and seeing what they were seeing and doing, it was just, man, it just touched me.
Yeah, I would almost feel as if, like you said, don't take anything for granted, and live every day to the fullest that you can live it. Would be, for me, just hearing your story and hearing that experience, obviously, knowing a little bit more of the background and story, and I've heard those before. To me, just, it's like, man, we got to live every day to the fullest.
Absolutely.
So you go through that transformation, and you got Matt out there, still slinging it in the trenches, and so you've got this dynamic of this like F you, I'm in the trenches, and then you got this, like, I'm a spiritual awakening transformation type of guy, and then you guys try to collide back together.
You nailed it. And I hadn't cut my hair for, basically a year. My driver's license, I look like Seth Rogen. So that is always comical. But I remember first day being back here, so relaxed and all that. And Matt's like, I'm gonna need you to hit the phones. I was like, yeah, okay, but who am I calling? Right. So it was like day one, right into FSBOs and expireds. Zero clue what I'm saying, doing. Gave me a couple scripts, and that was kind of it. Off to the races at that point.
Did you have some of that McConaughey, just smooth, just spiritual side of you kind of trying to flow in, talking to expireds and for sale by owners?
I was terrible. I was so relaxed. I was so like relaxed and nonchalant still. I wasn't aggressive at all. I was saying the wrong things. I'm getting hung up on. I'm getting told to F off again. I'm like, man, I forgot what this was all like. So it was a rough 30 days. But then again, here comes the motivation, right? So I'm back briefly and dating a woman, and she got pregnant. So first best thing in my life, my boy. That's when motivation was at an all-time high, because I had to make money then. I hadn't earned any income for about a year and a half, and then we always talk about your why, your purpose. I mean, then everything shifted mentally. Like I got a child on the way. I gotta buckle down and get this figured out.
When, speaking of the kiddos thing, for me, it didn't become reality until it was reality, right? Until, that little dude is like, holy shit, there's another little human right here. The whole process, the pregnancy, none of that, like, it wasn't real to me until it was real. How was that for you? Did it wake you up going through the process, or was it more so, oh shit, I got another little human I'm responsible for?
That's a great question. For me, it was immediate. My dream was always to be a father, and because it happened so quickly, unexpectedly, and because of the situation I was in, having to earn income, being back in a whole new city. I've been back to Pittsburgh for 15 years. So, I was, you'd laugh. I was probably more involved in the doctor's appointments and questions and all that. Like I was there for I was reading the books, like that comic movie. The other one, we were like, did you read the books? That's me reading the books, trying to make sure I have it all dialed in. But it was immediate. And then, like you say, the day it occurs, that I don't even have words to describe it. When you see the little human being, you're like, I can't believe that I created this. So
yeah. It's one of those experiences that I know, all the moms and dads out there, listening to this are like, shaking their head. And if you're not there, you haven't experienced it. It's just one of those things. Nobody can tell you what it's like until you actually experience it. And I think that's for a lot of things in our lives. And it's like, here we're talking about the spiritual awakening, transformation. Like I would love to experience that, but I can't feel that because I've never experienced that. And I think that's what, when we talk about becoming the best versions of ourselves, it's really looking for those transformations, those experiences that really, can shake us at our core, and to create an awareness, right? Most of us and most people through life, Deej, is that they just don't know that there's a problem. They don't know that they need to make a change. They don't know there's something better if they focus, physically getting stronger. They don't know if there's something better mentally if they don't, have that type of an experience. And just like you said, the other buckets, the emotional side and then the spiritual side. And I always refer back to the spiritual side is more really connecting with who you are at your core. And it sounds like, that's what you were able to do. And I honestly, Deej, man, I really believe that it takes that being with yourself to really get to know yourself. And a lot of people have a hard time with that.
Yeah, it's a great point. When I did that, even Matt said, he's like, I couldn't imagine traveling that long alone. And I'm a social person. I love being around people, but I've always kind of valued the time to myself. You really get to know a lot more about yourself. And I mean, you nailed it, right? And when you say about awareness, coming out of that experience, then back into the real world, all right, it's very easy to get back in to older habits. Again, the way we deal with stress, not working out as much, having a couple more cocktails. So that's where I think you just said a key word. You need to be aware daily. And that's kind of where the consistency factor comes into. And it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy by any means.
Right.
It's easy to slip back there, and then you got to be aware and say, man, I'm going down this again too much. I got to get back over here. So it's a daily effort.
Yeah. I mean, we're creatures of habit. And so we default always back to, if we're not intentional, right? That subconscious, we just creep back into, we're just creatures of habits. And
right.
We have to remember too, man, is that, we're hardwired to protect ourselves. So, if we're not consistently being intentional and pushing, then we're going to default back to protect mode. We're going to default back to, be lazy mode, because that's, hey, we're safe, right? We're safe here. So, any improvement in life, you and I talk about this all the time, right? It's all uphill, right? You want to be better physically, that shit hurts.
Yep.
Right? Go lift some weights and then add 5 pounds to it.
Yep.
Then add 5 pounds to it. Like, it hurts and it's not fun. And your body and our bodies are just hardwired to, whoa, bro, what are you doing? Like, stop. And you and I talk about this all the time with the runs, right? Running and going long distance and things. And it's like, our body, for me, like, I don't even go a half a mile and my body's like, stop. But I know that once I get past a mile and I get past to 2 miles, and I even know when I get past 6 miles, my body starts to like, F you, right? Like, we got this.
Yep.
And I think that applies to everything else in our life. And one of our favorite little sayings, how we do anything is how we do everything. And so if you give up when your body's saying stop, then how is that carrying over into all the other equities of your life? If you give up a half a mile in, when you said that, hey, I'm going 10 today, and you stop at 0.63, like, what is that allowing in our brains to tell us when we're working on our business, right? Like you're working on your daily activities that are within your control that drive the results you want in your business. If we give up at 0.6 when we say we're going 10, then what are you going to do when that you are calling those people and they're hanging up on you?
I agree completely. You're exactly right. It carries over in every aspect.
So talk to me a little bit. I'm curious still, you go through this transformation, you're getting back into the trenches, you're getting back into the real world. Life is coming at you now, right? Now you've got a responsibility for another human being.
Right.
So I believe those experiences are still hardwired into, and is the whole little point of the last 10 minutes is that you have to maintain a high level of awareness. You have to stay aware of what's going on, because if we're not aware, then we don't know we have a problem. If we're not aware, we don't know we need to make a change. If we're not aware, we don't know we need to be better. So, for you, how did you kind of get back into the mundane that drives success?
The one thing Matt and I both were always great at is we're just hard workers. What I wish I had earlier, honestly, was like someone like you as a coach, a mentor in my 20s, because we just won on effort. And we always knew that we would outwork and could outwork anybody. But in that process, it was extremely hard always, which we were okay with, but we made a lot of mistakes. We lost a lot of money because we tried everything ourselves. We're self-taught with everything until we had a coach, right? So that's where that was a pivotal point, because had we not had coaching, there's no way we'd be at the levels we're at now. It just isn't, because we wouldn't know how to get there, because no matter how hard you work, you got to find ways to add leverage, systems, processes, people. We would have never known that, because it would have been too scary, and we would have probably just talked ourselves out of it, right? So I think not only does a great coach give you the right advice, but the confidence, saying, I'm not going to let you fail, you're going to be okay. Like that's huge too, because when you only have each other, you're going to always be okay. But to hit those levels, if you don't have somebody that's done it, around you, yeah, you can self-believe, but you also self-doubt a lot too. You're like, can we really do that? You know,
Yeah.
so that, I think that was big. But yeah, as soon as that happened, I knew we'd be fine because I knew that I immersed myself. I started calling, 4 or 5 hours a day, watching YouTube videos, hearing other people who did it better than me, and being in sales my whole life, being on the phone. I knew I could pick it up quick, and once I did, and it clicked, then I was just relentless. Now the only downside at the time, like I wasn't there as much in those earlier times. You know, I was working 7 days a week, but at the time when I just figured I have to do this. I have no choice. I got
Yeah.
responsibilities, but yeah.
How important, and this was just kind of listening to everything that you were sharing and just kind of reflecting back on just knowing you and Matt, how important do you believe it was in the beginning and still to this day, having somebody that holds you to a higher standard, holds you accountable daily, and vice versa, that you're there to hold that other person accountable? How critical do you believe that aspect, that relationship has been?
I don't even know if I can put it into word. Extremely. Um, Without having someone there that shares the same beliefs, holds you accountable, also is working at the same level, um, no matter how self-driven you are, I don't think it's possible you're going to sustain and you'll fall. Here's what I resonate with. During the consulting time, I worked with a guy, Eric, and his brother was in the Navy, went to Buds to be a SEAL. And hearing his story always resonates with me. On day one of Hell Week, he thought it was an individual thing. I'm going to get through this myself.
Mm.
But number one, there's the first mistake. Second mistake he said was, I looked at 5 days. 5 days, no sleep, all that. The guys who made it, it was never an individual thing. It was, we will do this together. And he said the one thing where he broke was at surf torture. They did it for about 7 hours. So in the water run. And then they said it was winter too in Coronado. So the water, you're getting hypothermia. And he said about 30 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
After the 5th time in the ocean, he broke, but he was not in the chain. He refused to do that. And he said the other guys that were there, just body warmth, talking, etc. I relate a lot of that to just business. I believe now that all of us, should have a coach, number one, period. End of story. Number two, an accountability partner is huge. And any individual, I believe you need a team. Team is huge. And or people around you that are mentors, coaching you in daily, not once a month, once a week, every day, being on your side. I really do. I don't think many individuals will ever reach levels of success without. And you look at even big companies, none of these guys have done it on their own. Elon Musk has 1 million people. Steve Jobs always said, hey, I got a lot of great ideas, but I'm hiring everyone smarter than me to build this company. So having Matt has been huge. I wouldn't be where I'm at without that partnership and friendship and trust.
Yeah, it is. It's so powerful. And a couple of things that you said in there, and I just, knowing your backstory and even kind of what you shared kind of as we were kicking things off, being in a team sport, competitiveness, growing up and experiencing it at a high level that most people don't get to play, on the college, level. Man, I was reflecting on that a little bit this morning, getting ready to hit the stage here pretty quick here in Nashville. And, just kind of what I'm sharing with the audience, I was just kind of reflecting back that, the impact of growing up in a locker room and seeing, obviously the impact that coaches have on other human beings, but the camaraderie around building a team and understanding that, everybody has their part, everybody has their role, and it takes the collectiveness of the entire team focused in and doing what they're supposed to do to equate to the success of the team, of what we're trying to accomplish. And yeah, what you shared, I've seen it over and over, and I believe it too, that just with the belief and the conviction and hardwired, to work hard, and having somebody from an accountability will get you a long ways. But just like you said, I'm of the same belief that, everybody needs a coach, and I believe a great coach will take your life to a whole nother level. And, I believe it because I've seen it, just even in a sports capacity, but then also being able to experience it. And, I obviously played growing up, and then, playing, competitive and team sports and stuff. But even in the individual side of things, man, I realized just even playing golf that, like, bro, you ain't gonna get where you want to go trying to do it just on hard work in yourself. Like, it takes coaches, it takes a team to get you to that next level, to be able to excel. And yeah, it's crazy. So talk to me a little bit about, and what's funny, it's one thing you said, I was just like, yep, but it was great hearing that from somebody else. And it was listening to Goggins that he shared that same exact story. It's like, where people fail is that they don't stay in the moment. They try to do it all on their own. So this is exactly what Goggins said, and this is what's helped me so much on the endurance side of things, because this is what I always think about, is that where people fail in Hell Week is they're thinking about the end. Like you said, the 5 days, they're thinking about the end. They're not staying present in the moment. And he said the first hour is fun, but hour 2 is when they hit the water. And he said that's where they don't stay in the moment. Right. They go 5 days ahead, and that's where they check out. And and that's the lesson, is that you've got to stay present to the moment, and you're not going to succeed the week unless you work together as a team. And what's even more important when it gets even harder is that if you're thinking about that person right beside you. So that's kind of where I see why you and Matt have excelled the way you guys have excelled, is because you're worried about each other. You're staying present to the moment, but you're going to go harder, and you don't think about your pain when you're focused on that person that's riding right beside you's pain. Like, you don't have pain when you think about somebody else's. Think about that for a second. So that's why they allow pacers at the halfway point of these long runs, because it gets real hard at mile 50. But guess what? I get a pacer, and I'm more worried about that pacer than I am myself. And so the lesson that I see, because I know how much you guys care about each other, is that you don't focus on yourself when you're worried about that person riding right beside you. And it's so powerful.
I can't stress enough. I actually, you just stole my word. I was going to say how powerful that is. And to take it even a step further, when you grow a team, and you nailed it, our team members are our family. So now so it starts with Matt and I, but now there's that deeper care of, we got to take care of each other. And being a leader, it's my responsibility to make sure they're okay. And then even step 3, and this part's kind of the most beautiful thing, and it's not a plug, this is genuine from my heart, you know this. Being at EXP and being surrounded by you and Jay and Al and everybody collectively, right? I've never seen a culture in my life at any organization. For me personally, this is exactly like when I played football. It's the only other time I felt like that. And Tim Myers on our team is ex-military. He said the same thing. He said, I've never felt this feeling in my heart other than being in the military, where we care so much about each other, right? So it's like every day I wake up, it's, yes, I want to do good for me and my family and my little boy, but I don't want to disappoint Matt. I don't want to let my team down. I don't want to let you down. I don't want to let Jay, Al. And further, I feel responsibility that we're all one big, huge team at the end of the day, in it together, rowing in the same direction. So I think if you're fortunate enough in life to find that, I don't think there's anything better. I'm 41 years old and I can say this is the only other time I've felt this feeling was playing college football.
Yeah.
So I think that is so powerful what you said.
Yeah. It's culture, man. And it's as leaders, especially head of companies, our number one responsibility is culture. And, all culture is really just a collection of our people. And so that's why you have to fight to make sure that you allow people into the environment that align to the greater cause, the vision of the organization, the vision that you have for your life. And you have to protect it at all costs, because right. I mean, you guys have experienced it. Everybody has, is that, what happens when you allow poison into an environment? What happens when you allow some weeds into your garden?
It spreads,
man. And it's hard to get it under control, and you have to just cut that shit out, and you got to cut deep. And you got to cut fast. If not, it just, it's like a wildfire.
You're right.
So you've got to protect it, man. And it's at all costs. But a couple of the things that you said, right, man, it starts with, kind of believing in what it is that you guys want to accomplish, and even more so believing in each other. And it's like, hey, we can do anything. What do we want to do? As long as we got each other, and we believe in what we're doing. We believe in each other. We know we're going to put in the hard work. Mm-hmm. Is it worth it? Do we want to go do it?
Right.
Where did, for you, the falling in love with the mundane, because just you look at your ability on the sales side, like talk to me a little bit about what are some of the key things that lead to success in sales, that lead to success in anything that we're trying to do for you, that you really pay attention to on a daily basis?
So it started with, when I was started on the phones, a lot of people might have a difficult time staying on the phone, say more than a half hour, right? But I heard all the greats that were doing 2-3 hours a day. They were doing it first thing in the morning. And I related that to the workouts for football. In college, we'd be doing most of the time 2-a-days. 9 out of 10 times, I didn't want to be there. I don't want to run sprints for an hour. I don't want to go to the gym for an hour. But the weirdest thing happened. I started writing everything down in this little notebook. So you said it. Every time I'd go do anything, like running, if I was resting 45 seconds, next week was 40. Then could I only rest for 35? Then could I get down to 30? So even with the lifts, I'd say 5 more pounds. Well, when you do that, that's what showed me what consistency was possible. Because I remember going away the one summer, we drink more in the off season. I'm going home heavier. And my coach was like, you better come skinnier. You're not playing. I was like, I'll lose it. You can ask Durb. It was my sophomore year. I had like an 8-pack. I worked out so hard, and I went up in like my squat went from like 395 to 465. My bench went from like 255 to 305s. But seeing the numbers, that was powerful, because I could look back at every day in like a journal and see the micro wins. And then the big win after 4 months going into season, not only physically could you see it, but knowing like how much stronger I was. That is what I would relate this business to, right? Because the calls are the same. Yeah. If you do it every day, even the days you don't want to do it, you're going to have amazing success. What's hard is as we get busier, we like to be busy, but we're not doing the income producing activity. It's managing deals or more, or on social media too much, or we think this, if I do the perfect post that takes me an hour and a half, that's what's going to get me there. And I love it. I want to get better at that, but I just know that we always say about superpower. I know that if I stay on the phones and meet people, I'm going to be successful. Right. So, staying, when you say about, we talk about this all the time, it's the boring, hard things daily that will get you more success than you ever dreamed of. But how do you do it every day? How do you stay consistent? And how do you do it on the days that you absolutely do not want to do it?
Yeah.
That is the key, right? So
Yeah. What is that for you? The days you don't want to do it, what's the motivation? What's the trigger?
lately, my big thing's just been, as my son's getting older, and I mean, he can talk pretty well now. I want him always looking back and saying, my dad was a man of integrity, hard work, and a role model, someone
Yeah.
he really looks up to in all aspects of life. So it's like you said, when you said, um, everything we do the same, right? So if I don't get up and make my bed for, like, he sees me make the bed,
Yeah.
brush your teeth, like all these little things, like put your clothes in the laundry. I want to teach him now all the things that I wasn't taught. I mean, and that's where, like, I strive so hard to be a dad, is he wasn't around ever. It was just me and my sister kind of raised herself. So it's weird. Like, life is amazing, because I feel like some of the worst things that happen to us, or the hardest things, make for some of the most beautiful and best things.
Yeah.
Without that, I don't think I'd be who I am. Like, if I had this amazing childhood and born rich, I don't think I'd be who I am as a person. We were dirt poor and my dad was never home. So I was like, it gave me all the
Makes sense.
motivation, the drive,
Yeah.
right? So um him, right, like, he's, and Matt and my team, it's actually, like I said, it's collectively, right? It's my
Yeah.
son, my partner, my team, and then ultimately my business partners, meaning you and everybody else at that level. I want to win for all of us. I
Yeah.
have an obligation, I feel, to all of us.
A couple things you said there that I think everybody needs to really tap into and acknowledge, right? Create an awareness around it is, as we grow up, we model what we want, or we model what we don't want. And, that childhood could be following the same path, or uh-uh, I will never, ever live or have my life or my family's life or my kids have to experience what I experienced. And, sometimes you have to be able to step back and be clear enough to have that awareness, where a lot of people, they sedate themselves to just overcome the mess, the shit. And they don't allow themselves to have the space and get clear, or have the right circumstance, or the right support, or the right environment to challenge them to be better. And so that's just kind of what you were saying. And Ed Milet talks about that, we're either trying to make somebody proud, or we're trying to prove somebody wrong. And I believe we have to have both.
Yeah.
Not one or the other. I believe we have to have both. And typically, the person we're trying to make proud is typically somebody that raised us as we were young. And so we do a lot of things in the subconscious, or we're just doing activities because we're trying to make them proud. And the other side of that coin, and I say everybody has to have somebody they're trying to prove wrong, because that's the ignition. That's the days that you're like, nope, not today. I am staying right here in this bed. But if you are aware and you go, fuck that person, like, you will get your butt out of bed and you will go do the things you don't want to do. And the biggest thing is just getting out of bed, is just moving, right? Like I laugh at what Goggins says. Like, he'll just sit there and eat his oatmeal and stare at his shoes for 30 minutes. I'm like, yep, been there. I'm about 45 to 60 minutes I've sat there and I've just stared at my shoes.
Right.
But bro, I put them shoes on. It's that momentum, right? Exactly. It's the next step. It's you want to stay awake and don't go back to bed? Go brush your teeth.
Yep.
Right? Put your alarm clock on the other side of the room.
Yep.
You're going to get up. You're up. But if you can then just tap into that, like, I got you. Like, I got you today. I'm gonna prove you wrong today. It's an ignition. Now, Deej, it's not sustainable. And I'm not saying it's the best form of motivation, but it is a great form of motivation to ignite. But where we have that long burning fuel is when we're trying to make that person proud. But it all doesn't matter if you don't have a greater sense of purpose.
Right.
Because without the purpose, then what are you doing? You're just going through the motions. Oh, I'm just trying to make this person proud. But what am I doing? What are you doing?
Well, you kind of nailed it when you said purpose. Like in this, the totality of everything, like with Matt, with the team, you know, with the XP right now, this has been the first time in actually probably ever in my career. So you nailed it. Before, I could be super successful. I always did well. There was never a purpose. Honestly, the purpose was make money, have fun. But I was burning the candle at both ends so hard. There wasn't that why, or even the culture. It wasn't about team or culture. It was more just hit your quota. Hey kid, you did good. 125%, 200%, President's Club.
Yeah, share that story. Share that story real quick, because this is important. What led to taking that year off? Like,
Okay,
this is gold right here.
So I was an outside kind of account executive consultant for a very big technology, actually probably one of the largest resellers in the country, right? And they only had 2 of these sales positions in all of South Florida. They interviewed about 300 people. I get the job, and even that, I was up against the Harvard grad. And I remember I'm on a Zoom with all these, you know, very high-end, you know, guys, and the VP said, "Tell me why it's you." I said, "Here's it. I may not have the education this other individual has. There isn't a chance in hell in a brand new market, especially Miami, that this guy's going to be able to go through doors like I will. So if you want to double the numbers and hit the numbers, I'm your guy, period, in the story. If not, I think you made a critical mistake today." I ended the Zoom. So I literally just hung up, which was aggressive. And I just didn't care at the time. And that's where I was mentally. He called me back a day later. He said, I got bad news. And I'm like, I didn't get the job. He said something silly. And then he said, you got the job. So day one, it was the NFL of sales. You talk about the pressure cooker. I'm putting data centers in for major hospitals. There's no room for error. So long and short, I worked my butt off my first year, and I got a call on December 26th that I had missed President's Club. They take 2 from healthcare in the country by 0.04%. I thought it was a joke. I remember being so pissed off. I'm like, I cannot believe. And I killed myself. This is like losing the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter, right? So I took about a week off. Wasn't the best choice I made, but it's funny. I went to the liquor store, bought a case of Macallan, and I said, I'm going to work literally 15 hours a day. And on January 4th, I still remember the day, conference call of about 250 people. My VP's going through. I said, if I may, I got something to say. So I called my shot on the call. I said, I'm going to be at President's Club this year. I'm just calling this out right now. And he's like, okay, you know, the whole squad.
Okay.
Right. And I did it. And I was a clear victory this time. I made sure I was going to win. And I've never worked that hard, that smart, anything in my life. So finally doing it, I get this tiny little trophy. Right. I mean, I can't even describe it. It is like this big. And after all this effort, so all I wanted to do, it wasn't the money. It was the victory. It was the win. Right. So we're at President's Club in Mexico. I'm in the pool with all the VPs. And I said, I don't know how else to say this, but I'm going to retire. I'm done. And this is, of course, having some cocktails. So he's like, are you sure this isn't just the margaritas talk? And I said, no, I'm pretty sure I'm done. I am going to, so that was it. I gave him, it wasn't a 2-week notice. They made me stay on for 2 months to train my person behind me coming in, but true story. And on January 2nd of the following year, plane was up and out to Costa Rica. So
I love it, man. I love that story. I want to wrap with one story that I've just always wanted to capture, to be able to have, and you gotta share the Bachelor story, the Bachelorette story. Now let me ask you: was this pre Costa Rica or was this after Costa Rica?
Pre.
Oh,
So
boy.
I was actually, that was probably, man, maybe 7, 8 years before that. So I was quite a bit younger. I was in another relationship for about 4 years, and my sister, feeling bad for me, you know, like, oh, I don't know. She wrote an application to The Bachelor. Didn't know this. I get a phone call from that. I actually hung up twice. I thought it was a prank call. You know, it's like, hey, this is Susie from, you know, ABC's or NBC's The Bachelorette. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Hang up. So finally, it's real. And they say, well, we got your application. You know, we're interested. We want to fly out to Los Angeles. I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't send an application. So I go out there, and it's crazy. At the time, I'm selling software for eventually the company that hires me, the big tech reseller. So I was in LA, believe it or not, like once a month. So the timing was like amazing. I started going out there more frequently. So I meet him 5 or 6 times. It's everything. It's funny when they say the camera adds 20 pounds. I remember there is 100 cameras. There's 100, you know, producers. They're like, you got to lose a little bit of weight for TV, right? So at the end of the day, I do all of it. I'm getting ready. I'm going to be on TV. I snapped my Achilles tendon in a flag football game. The week before, I'm supposed to go out for the final basic big decision week.
Yeah.
So I'm not on that season. Fast forward. At this point, I've given up, by the way. I'm like, hey, the dream shattered, whatever. Like, I'm not meant to be on television. So they call me about 3 months later. Hey, we liked you enough. Why don't you try this year? I'm like, are you serious? And like, yeah. So since I've already kind of gone through the rigmarole, it's a little bit faster, easier. I make it. I'm out at the final step. I can't describe it. It's like 4 psychology meetings. It's crazy. I mean, they do their homework. I'll tell you that. So end of the story, the girl they picked, I wasn't very fond of.
You got to share what you said. This is you got to be careful, right? This is the lesson right here.
I did not think she was a very nice person at all. And said a couple choice words that I didn't realize that they're. Let me say this: the cameras are always on you, right? So they right. Share, of course, these videos with who's going to be the Bachelorette, and let's just say that one killed it for me. Which I wasn't very fond of her. There was one I loved, and I said about the couple that I loved, and it ended up being the one I didn't, and that was the end of my potential movie/actor career.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's a great reminder right there, right? You know, we live in the most transparent time, and it's only going to become more and more transparent as we move forward. So y'all better be careful what you say and do, because I promise you it's recorded. And
absolutely.
It's fascinating. You guys, if you get an opportunity, it's out there, and it's out. What is Jocko? The interwebs. It's out there. There's all the videos are out there. All the interviews are out there. It's just fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Brother, I appreciate you tremendously, and you know, taking the time to you know, jump in here, hang out with us, you know, unpack a lot about yourself, and you know, that drive and sharing the stories. And so best way for folks to follow up and connect with you?
Yeah, so just facebook.com/DJ Fairley. I got Instagram.
DJ Fairley, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, DJ.Fairley. My Instagram just got hacked, so I'm starting over on Instagram, but my Facebook is rolling forward. So Facebook is probably best.
Facebook is best. Awesome, brother. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you as well.
And let's keep making it happen. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Sounds good.
See you,
Thank you. Bye.